we're celebrating 30 years of professional law enforcement today. Meet Horry County Sheriff Phillip Thompson. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Horry County Government and Justice Center in historic downtown Conway. We're focused on 30 years of public service. And we're visiting with Horry County Sheriff Phillip Thompson, who today, Phillip, is celebrating 30 years of professional law enforcement. Congratulations today.
Thank you very much. It certainly doesn't seem like it's been 30 years, but it has.
Can you even fathom that? Think back to 30 years ago, you were joining the Myrtle Beach Police Department.
That's correct. My first day was March 21st of 1978. And gosh, it doesn't seem like it's been 30 years. But it has, and really good years.
I mean, to think about that, your boys have all grown up over the 30 years. They've gotten married. You have grandchildren, 4 grandchildren now?
That's correct.
I mean, think of that. You and Cherry have been married 30-some years. I mean,
38 years.
38 years.
Yes, that's correct.
Think about all the different cases you worked on, all the different things you've done.
Makes me feel older than I feel.
I know. I'm sorry. That's right. Well, you have kept your youth very well, but can you reflect back to just those first couple of years as you were getting your feet wet? What was it about March 20 or leading up to March 21st of 1978 that encouraged you to join the Myrtle Beach Police Department?
Well, I had been interested in law enforcement for quite some time. Went back to school at Horry Georgetown Tech and majored in criminal justice during that period of time. And I was around a lot of police officers at that time that were already officers.
Right.
I wanted to be. And going through the school and taking that and those courses just made me more really want to get involved.
Right.
And I had the opportunity to go to work with Myrtle Beach in 1978, and I did. And the rest is history. We just had a really wonderful career.
Right. There 3 years, then 21 years.
Well, I was actually at Myrtle Beach for 2 years.
Okay, 2 years.
And then I worked with Horry County Police Department for 21 years.
Right.
And I've been sheriff for about a little over 7 years.
That is amazing.
It's been fun. What a great time I've had.
And of course, to be here in this facility now and to oversee all the security here for this 212,000 square foot Government and Justice Center, what folks oftentimes call the Justice and Administration Center, or goes by a lot of names, but it is the centerpiece of Horry County.
Really is, and it is really a remarkable facility.
Yeah.
When they started the planning and all for this, they wanted to do it where we would have like a one-stop shop or a facility where you could go to take care of any function within county government.
Right.
And of course, they did a wonderful job of planning.
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful. I think it's very functional.
Yes.
And also, a lot goes on here in the period of the day, as you can tell.
Oh,
with
yeah,
the folks
of course.
coming in and out.
Absolutely. All week. Of course, today's Friday, but to think all week, we've had folks in, obviously kicking off the week here with Roddy Dickinson and then Robert Edge, our coroner on Tuesday. Judge Didra Edmonds with us on Wednesday, and Greg Hembry yesterday. It's been a great week, but to wrap it up on 30 years of public service, does it give you any goosebumps? Can we tell? Yeah, I see a couple of goosebumps there.
I'm proud to say that I still get excited when I come to work. I mean, I really do. I'm not just saying that. There's a lot going on in Horry County, as you well know. Seen a lot of change in 30 years and how much we've grown, how law enforcement has changed, the technology surrounding law enforcement, what we do now versus what we did back in the late 70s and through the 80s and the 90s. But the basic of law enforcement hasn't changed. We're still here as law enforcement officers to serve and protect the public. We're here to help and assist. That's what law enforcement really is about, and to make it safe for our citizens. But the method, the tools that we have now compared to the 70s and early 80s has certainly changed a lot.
Right.
But the basics of law enforcement hasn't changed.
Yes.
But I still get excited when I come to work and all, especially working in a facility like this.
And this is your home. I mean, this is your work home. Clearly, this is the building. You spend some time as well throughout the county.
Oh, I do. But this is where our office is.
Right,
The sheriff's office is located here in the Justice Center behind me. A lot of security there. Right. Unfortunately, as we've seen things change, the aspect of security is now more important than it's ever been. It's always been important, but it's more so now than it has ever been. And when you come into the facility, if you're going into the Justice Center, it's much like going to board an airplane.
Boarding an airplane, yes.
That's correct. The system is set up basically the same in the fact that when you go in, you go through metal detectors. We have staff there that check you, make sure that you have no weapons on you. Purses, any mail that's delivered, any packages that come in, go through an X-ray machine.
Is that right? Wow.
We have
anyone on that side of the building or throughout the entire facility?
In the Justice Center
the Justice portion, yes.
But we have a security room.
Right.
It's called Central Control, where we have staff there that monitor the activity throughout the facility via cameras. And all, we have 110 security cameras throughout this complex.
Is that right? Wow, Sheriff.
It's monitored 24/7. We have duress alarms through any department in the administrative wing or building or the Justice Center that accepts money or any transactions that's taken. We have security cameras there with duress alarms.
Right.
If something goes wrong, a duress alarm could be mashed at that station.
Okay.
It locks a camera in our central control room, which an alarm goes off.
Right.
And the security personnel are able to view what is happening, radio to our people that we have stationed throughout the facility for them to respond. The judges have duress alarms behind their benches.
Great.
In their chambers.
Right.
We have separate entrances for our judge and court staff. So a lot of security, lots done here.
Of course, it's unfortunate at some level to think of having to move to that level of security throughout, but clearly you have got to be there and got to be ready for anything that can come up. Think about over the course of your tenure as sheriff, now north of 7 years, some of the things that have occurred, probably stuff folks would never even hear about, don't want to know about, but they want to know that you're covered bases.
Yeah, and if you think about what goes on in this building, in the period of a week's time, the different hearings, the courts that you have, the different type of courts. We've had, if you've in the news, and I know you are.
Oh yeah.
We've had a large number of major trials.
That's right. I know. Just last week, Court TV was here.
That's correct.
And to think about being in the facility during a murder trial, and I'm sure out here you see the local TV stations here all the time, newspaper press are here all the time. It's a big
Well, if
deal.
you think about the emotion that's going on in that courtroom, because you got the victim's family.
Right.
You have the defendant in that courtroom. You have the defendant's family. You have the emotions. You have your jurors that are up there. And serving as a juror can be a very emotional task to perform. And we have a wonderful group of citizens here that we draw our jury pools from, and they take their job very seriously. There's a lot of emotion going on in that one courtroom.
Oh, yeah.
And then when the court is over and they step out into the hallways, you have potential to have some issues. Then you got your family court, divorces, dividing of children, parental rights, who has custody. There's a lot of emotion that goes on in this building in a period of a day. I've got a wonderful staff of people who seem to be, or they don't seem, they are very, very good at dealing with those issues, how to handle them. They can kind of sense when there might be an issue coming up, and they position themselves. Very, very proud of our employees that work here.
How many folks work within the sheriff's office? You've got folks principally here, I guess the detention center, J. Reuben Long.
We have 51 people assigned here in this office downtown, and we have about 220 at the detention center.
Is that right? There's that large a number of persons out there. Wow, Sheriff, that's a big deal, and that's only getting bigger and bigger.
Oh, it's growing. It's growing. We're in the middle of an expansion phase at this time. So we're getting bigger out there as well. Unfortunately, we have to.
Yes.
Because they just keep filling up. Folks keep coming to see us at the jail. So
folks keep coming to.
They just keep violations or whatever they do. We just keep to see. We had the largest number of intake this past year that we ever had. We booked 14,000 people into J. Reuben Long Detention Center.
No, 14,000 in 2007?
Yes, sir.
That is terrible.
It is.
That is terrible when you think about those kind of numbers. But clearly the sheriff's office is instrumental in making that as seamless as possible, because you're obviously having to, wow.
Well, like I said about our staff here, our staff there, they do a marvelous job working under the conditions and the pressures and all that they have to do. And I just can't say enough about the folks that work for us here at the Sheriff's Office.
When you think
very
about
dedicated employees.
When you think about pressure, and I know in here folks have to be on their toes constantly, making sure everything runs seamlessly, the 50-plus folks you have here, but over there where pressure is clearly at a high, and I'm sure the mental and verbal angling going on between folks, I hate to say prisoners, and the folks that are not prisoners, it's that's a big deal. It
really is, but they do a marvelous job.
What is a typical day, if you can think back to it for yourself, a typical day, Sheriff, in a facility like this, and clearly having to interface a lot with staff, you just have really interfacing, making sure everyone's happy in their position. What is a typical day like for you?
Well, I usually get at the office around 8:15 in the mornings. You have calls that come in throughout the evening that you need to return. But basically what I do here at the Justice Center is I go around and I check our courtrooms. When I say check courtrooms, I check the courts. I visit with the judges a lot.
Yes,
to see their concerns and what's going on. We have a lot of walk-in folks coming by to have questions or issues that we need to discuss, and then they want to talk with the sheriff. I'm here for that, and do an awful lot of that. Might run out to the detention center, check on some issues out there. Right now we're in an expansion project, so I'm spending...
Physically building expansion.
Yes, we are.
Yes,
We're under construction at this point with phase one. We're phasing it in. We're going two different phases.
Right.
And we're in the middle of phase one at this time. So you got meetings out there. You got staff meetings with your staff. We have a project manager that works for us on staff.
Wow.
Who is constantly, that is his job. He is involved in the construction and what needs to be done, dealing with the architects, dealing with the contractors, dealing with everyone out there. So I meet with him quite a bit, either by phone or in person out there.
Sure.
You get called out to different things. So you never know when you come in the mornings what you're going to do.
You really don't know. There's no typical day.
No. And I like that.
Yeah, sure.
I like that aspect of...
Some folks couldn't live with that. They couldn't thrive on having an atypical day every day, just because they want, like children, you want routine. You need routine, but if you can do it, more power to you. That's tremendous.
Basically the only thing routine here is what time you get here.
Right.
So you never know when you walk in. They might have meetings, obviously.
Right, sure.
You're meeting with county staff. You're meeting at different points with different agencies.
Sure.
We have meetings with the chiefs, all the chiefs and the sheriff and all. We meet second Wednesday every month, so we got those meetings where we share information with each other, what's going on, to keep abreast of things. And I want to say too that the cooperation and the working relationship with all the law enforcement agencies in this county is the best I have seen it, and I've been in the business for 30 years.
Oh yeah.
Now, it's never been bad, but it's the best now that I have seen.
Now, why do you think that is, Sheriff? Is that clearly all the agencies are working together more hand in hand now? Post 9/11, folks have begun to think that way.
That's what I was going to lead up to. It's just one thing we learned. We learned a lot of things, but one of the main things that we learned during the 9/11 event was communication.
Right.
and you've seen on the news and the national news the areas where they weren't sharing information. Right. Well, that has caused us to meet a lot more through the Homeland Security program,
right,
on the national level, that feeds down to the locals through grants and whatever. But it's created committees that you serve on with different disciplines throughout the county, not just law enforcement, but everything as far as public safety is concerned. Well, that creates communication. Right. The fact that we meet all the police chiefs and the sheriff, and we meet the second Wednesday of each month. And the solicitor's office is also involved in that.
Is that right? So all the police chiefs meet with the sheriff? Yes.
And the solicitor.
Right, sure.
We discuss issues that's going on. Well, that opens the door for communication and sharing of information. The DEU, which has a grant that was funded through the solicitor's office, now we have agents, deputies, and officers from different law enforcement agencies working as one in a drug unit with the DEU.
The Drug Enforcement Unit?
That, we meet on that. So everyone who has a representative from their agency on that DEU, we're meeting, we're talking, we're discussing things. And the best thing that creates is communication. Right. And communication is what it's all about, to work together in anything you do. Certainly law enforcement, I understand that, but it's got to be in the business community as well, communication. And the folks that are in place through the various departments now have either known each other or worked with each other at some point throughout their career, to where we know them not only professionally, we know them personally. And that helps so much with the working conditions and the information sharing and all. Of course, the big events that we have, the biker events and things of this nature.
A lot.
We just went through 2 debates, which I thought was just wonderful for
remarkably. Absolutely.
But we used the same system that we use in planning and organizing biker events. We used that with the debates, where we were all there together. We were all in the same room. We were all sharing
very well handled with presidential candidates and
former
presidents and otherwise sitting there. It really did, didn't it? You must feel great about that.
I do, and there's a lot of people to thank for that.
And it's tough to imagine. I know there are a lot of folks to thank for that, but it's tough to imagine that it would have been handled as seamlessly prior to 9/11, because oftentimes administrations just weren't working together as much as they are now. Clearly, it would have worked well.
One thing that brought to us is the incident command system, is what we call it, and that's the way we work major events.
Right.
We incorporate that now in everything that we do. And if you go by that system, it makes you communicate. Or doesn't make it, it requires you.
Requires you to,
It requires you to communicate. It requires you to do different things together. So things are going good. I tell you, I'm proud of O'Ree County. I love where we're at. I love the direction we're going in. We're growing, and with that brings challenges.
Right.
And we got to think outside the box as leaders in law enforcement.
Now, Sheriff, this building, 212,000 square feet. There's also this government side of the building. Y'all are involved in the security over there as well.
Yeah,
clearly.
That's what when I mentioned earlier about the arrest alarms for the different agencies or wherever they take up money. Obviously, Treasurer's Office, Code Enforcement, R&E.
Sure.
Anytime there's cameras there.
There's cameras all over here as well.
Behind.
Yes, very important. Yeah.
And then we station people, deputies that are assigned to the sheriff's office, have stationary points where they work. And then we do walkthroughs, and if we have a major event, we work security for all council meetings.
Is that right? Good. Very important.
Some committee meetings, if you're going to have a large number of people there. You need some type of organization. And what my staff does is not just security. But they're there to help, to guide, to people come up, want to know where to go.
Sure.
What they can take in the meetings, what they can't. Things of this nature. So, we're not just standing there like some kind of large security guard making it uncomfortable for you. Handling security, you got to do it in a method.
Oh, yeah, but emotions can flare on this side of the room as this side of the building. It's critical to have that good working environment, the good people, skills.
We've seen it.
Sure.
We've seen it. And we don't want the security to be uncomfortable.
Right.
We want it to be reasonable. We want it to be thorough. But the manner in which you do it goes so far.
Absolutely.
And like I said earlier, I'm just very fortunate with the staff that I have and how hard they work and how seriously they take their job.
Do you all have earlier in the week, Robert Edge was with us on Tuesday, and he highlighted there are 3 deputy coroners. Are there deputy sheriffs? Are there folks, I know Paul Butler is somebody you turn to oftentimes. He has helped get the word out, but is there such a thing as deputy sheriffs?
Well, the deputies that work for me are all deputy sheriffs.
Okay.
And
how many would there be? I mean,
there's like 34.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, and they not only work here at the courthouse, they're out serving the civil process.
Sure, of course.
Of course, during the tough economical times right now, we're seeing an increase in activities
so
from that.
Foreclosures, y'all have to deal in that.
Yes, we do.
Oh, no.
We also serve warrants, any out-of-county warrants. If there's warrants outstanding on someone in this county that's from another county, another state, they filter through us. We work with the Marshal Service religiously for fugitive warrants and things of this nature. Anytime we got a fugitive from another area down here, if the Marshal Service gets the information, they contact us, and we'll do some legwork, and then we'll usually work together. As a matter of fact, we've made 2 arrests in the past 2 weeks with the U.S. Postal Service.
Is that right?
With things occurring out of state, but the person that was doing it was here. They've come down, and through them and the Marshal Service, we've been able to execute some fugitive arrests.
I'm amazed that y'all are able to get as much done, and we've only hit the tip of the iceberg. There's so many more things going on within the Sheriff's Office. How do y'all do this with, it sounds like almost a limited staff? I mean, when you think about J. Reuben Long and here,
when we
but
are
still getting out into the community is very...
When court breaks down.
Right.
And family court goes on every day.
Right, sure.
But when circuit court breaks down, we have what they call chambers weeks. That's where the judges are in the chambers, but the court proceedings are not going on. The deputies that normally handle those procedures are out in the field. Serving warrants, serving papers, checking on sex offenders.
Yes, I'm sorry, we're almost out of time. We haven't been able to highlight the sex offender registration and tracking, which is so critical, and a lot of folks want to know about it.
Unfortunately, we're up to 610 people now.
Is that right, in the county?
That are registered. But when we bring our deputies out of the courtrooms and put out there, we get them, they go by, our sergeant that's in charge of that program will have a list of people that need to be checked to verify that they're where they say they are.
Oh, yeah.
So we got deputies doing that. Sometimes when the deputies leave court and are on the way home, they'll get a list to go by, because that's a very serious issue with us. We take it extremely seriously to verify and to make sure that they're out there.
Speaking of that, if a viewer's interested in finding out if there's a sex offender living in their neighborhood or within a mile or a couple miles of their home, what is the best way for someone to do that? Is it going online to the county's, to y'all's website?
Yes, the easiest way to go is to go to orecounty.org.
Okay.
Click on departments, public safety. Well, on the website for the county government, you can go straight to the sex offender registry.
Is that right? Great.
Click straight on. But if you go to our website with the sheriff's office, and you'll see a icon up there, or a block that has SORT, sex offender registration and tracking. Click on that and follow the leads. You put your address in it.
Sure.
It'll give you every offender that lives within a 1 mile of that address.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're not checking your home, if you want to check your
school,
daycare center, school,
church,
playground, whatever,
swimming pool in the summer.
It give you all the offenders that live within 1 mile. You could go down also and put your information in at the bottom of the page if you want to be notified if an offender moves within a mile of any of those addresses.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll come into our system, and when we
email alerts. That is great.
When we post that information, you'll be notified by email immediately.
That's tremendous. Sheriff, I'm embarrassed to say we've run out of time, but as you think about it, in 30 years today, celebrating 30 years, what continues to drive you to want to remain in professional law enforcement to the degree you've been in it the last 30 years?
You know, I just, like I said earlier, and not to beat something to death, I just really enjoy what I'm doing. I have a passion for law enforcement. I care about law enforcement. I care about this county. And I just love what I do. And I'm so thankful that the citizens have given me the opportunity to do this.
Absolutely.
And I want to continue on. I feel like I still got more to offer. I'm not ready to hang up my hat yet.
I love it. Let's hope that's many years to come, and it shows, Sheriff. It shows you love what you do. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Horry County Sheriff Phillip Thompson coming up next. If you've been a public servant for 30 years, wouldn't you want to sit here and talk about all the great things you've done and sit here and pat your back? Absolutely. What does Sheriff Phillip Thompson do? He sits here and talks about others. He talks about his tremendous crew out at J. Reuben Long Detention Center, his tremendous crew here at the Government and Justice Center in downtown Conway. The folks are interfacing every day. When he talks about his typical day, it's dealing with his tremendous crew that's making a difference every day for the folks not only here in the Government and Justice Center, not only out at J. Reuben Long, but also transporting prisoners throughout the county, updating the sex offender registration and tracking list, constantly making a difference for the citizens of Horry County. You know, you need to take the time to go online to horrycounty.org, click on the Sheriff's Office. They've got a lot of tremendous frequently asked questions, but they've also got a link to SORT, to the Sex Offender Registration Tracking, where they've got email alerts. They've got tremendous safety tips for parents, tips for children, things you need to know to be able to communicate with your loved one. Take the time, go online, or pick up the phone, 843-915-5450. 30 years of professional law enforcement. Today's the day, but it's been a lifetime for Sheriff Phillip Thompson. Phillip, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for what you do.